Hey everybody, I hope we're live now. I did things in a little bit different order today. We are coming to you live from Living Felt because it's Happy Woolly Wednesday! And all the magical fairies are just right off the screen. And this is my buddy Speedy. Some of you know him already. So we are so glad to see you all and we are ready to play together today. Oh, my husband's calling me. Let me see, what have I done wrong? Hello? Oh, I hung up now, so maybe he's gone. Hopefully we're live. Hopefully we're live and everything is fine. I see my little countdown is still going up there. So hey y'all, thank you so much for being here with us today. And we are so happy you're here because today we're going to be needle felting this cute little miniature landscape. And it's a really fun project. We're going to go over some of the basics that just will help make your landscape pop just a little bit more. And I want to say hi to a few folks. Thank you for joining us. I see there's Judy in Florida. Hi Judy. Marjolaine in the UK. Thank you for being here. Cherie is in Washington and Erica in Holland, and so many of you are joining us. Thank you so much. Make sure to say hi and where you're from, and you'll see that our friends are joining us from all over the world, so we'd like to know where you are. So today we're going to needle felt these cute little landscapes. If you want to pull together your needle felting supplies, definitely do. In just a few moments I'm going to go over all the supplies with you, but to start, the fairies are here and they're going to show you a few things that they picked out for today's project for you to see. So thanks for joining us, you all. We're so happy to be here with you today. Happy Woolly Wednesday.
Hi everybody, how are y'all doing today? Fairy Hannah here with another little shout out because y'all cannot stop writing us all those beautiful love notes and we really appreciate it. But this week's is Christina Perush. So Christina, thank you so much for such a kind, beautiful message. All the fairies here just really appreciate all the love that y'all give us. Y'all make it so worth being here every day. So we love y'all too. Keep felting and we'll talk to y'all soon. Next we've got Fairy Lauren coming up.
Thanks, Hannah.
Hi y'all, happy Woolly Wednesday. So as you guys might remember, last week we mentioned this beautiful patch we made from our art felt fabric project, and we wanted to let you guys know that we have now in stock the magnets that we used on the back so you can attach this to your clothes without any fear of ripping or adding holes or tearing. These magnets are magnetic bar pins. They're super durable, they're heavy duty, and they're awesome so you can, excuse me, I'm sorry y'all, they're super durable, they're heavy duty, and so you can attach your works of art to your clothes or to your fridge or anywhere else you may need to. Again, magnetic bar pins, they're just added to our website today and they're fantastic if you need to use them for anything. Next up, yay! Next up we have Faerie Becca.
Hi guys, Faerie Becca here. So I know we all love to use our Earth Harmony foam to needle felt. So we do offer a variety of sizes, but we have these 5x5 foams at discounted teacher packs online. So usually the cuts are nice and clean and even here, but our cutter guy got a little crazy with it and we ended up with some irregular shapes. So, you know, the firmness is still there, same density, it's got no tears, no damage. They just have a little more personality. So we're gonna offer these for you guys at an even more discounted rate in packs of 25 online on our under the teacher workshop section. You can find that in the specials tab. So they're pretty great. They're online, ready to go, ready to wonk their way right into your hearts.
They say irregular, right, Becca?
Yes, irregular.
Okay.
So as you can see, our normal foam is pretty nice and even, and compared, it's just got a slight different cut. Yeah, a little more fun. Yeah, all good to go. And up next is Fairy Holly.
Yay! Thank you.
Hi everyone! So I have been working on some landscapes myself, just like Marie has, and I have found my biggest lifesaver to be our MC1 goodie packs because I always need all kinds of random colors because I can't control myself. So I wanted to share the MC1 goodie pack with you. We have at least 12 colors in each goodie pack. This is pretty representative of the goodie packs that we have right now. And we have a couple colors in each color family. It's all out of our signature MC1 fiber, which is perfect for needle felting, but you can also wet felt with it too. So it's, like I said, it's perfect for little other needle felting projects, your landscapes, whatever you're working on. And you can find that on our website as well. And now we have Faerie Ann.
People like those. Wait, I would even use that for today. I think that's a good pick for today, Holly. Yeah. Yay!
Hi friends, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We have been having so much fun needle felting pictures and postcards with you, and we have really heard your requests for a supply pack or a kit for these projects. We put our heads together and came up with this lovely bundle. This is going to be our Needle Felting a Picture Fun Pack. It's going to come with 4 ounces total of our MC1 batting, 2 felt sheets, a 10-inch by 7-inch Earth Harmony foam block, a pack of felting needles in the 42 triangle and 38 triangle variety, so you'll get some good variety there, a transfer pen, and a single needle wooden tool. You're also going to get a fun little jelly bean surprise with this pack. It won't be actual jelly beans. You'll be able to felt with it, but it'll be just as fun. Thank you so much, y'all. Next up, here to share some more fun stuff is Faerie Kayla.
Now, is that pack on the site? Is it already on the site?
It is not on.
Okay, so it'll be on the site before the end of day.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I hope your week's going well. I'm showing something that really is fun. It's our Fun Bunch locks. What? I actually dyed these myself and they were so much fun to make. And so now I'm here to share them with you. We've got, it comes with a couple of different colors in here. They are budget friendly, so they're great for classrooms or even just to add to your own personal stash. They come in various lengths and different lock structures here, so it's lots of fun. It's kind of like you never know what you're going to get. Oh yeah, and you probably want to see them. That would be helpful. And then I did have some exciting news. Did you guys hear about the guy who invented the knock-knock joke?
Who invented that?
I heard he won the Nobel Prize. Yeah, there's my daily dose of corniness, and I'll turn you back over to Marie.
Thank you, Kayla. Just a big round of hearts and applause for the fairies. I know that they make every day here more magical, and these are the gals who fill your orders, answer your emails, answer your calls, and man, make all these really fun things that we ship off to you wherever you are. So we really appreciate them, and thank you all for taking time out of your week to spend it with us. So today we're doing these miniature 2D landscapes, so a lot of what they shared with you already makes a lot of sense, and you can turn these into like a magnet with the bar pin magnets that you wear. We'll look at that. You could make it a magnet on your refrigerator or whatever, but I thought, you know, what's about this landscape, and let me just pull up a little picture here and see if it'll cut all the way over. So this little landscape is just about 3 inches big. We used our MC1 batting and a few different touches, but I thought, you know, so often we want to try something and maybe we're just a little bit intimidated. So let's go tiny, and then we can look at doing a larger picture together after we tackle this little teeny tiny one. And on this tiny one, we're going to needle felt it, and then we're going to add some embellishments with stitching and stuff. So if you're excited for that, let us hear from you. Now they've moved the chat window over to one side or the other, so leave us a little chat. Let us know that you are excited. Give us a thumbs up or a heart. And if you're watching the playback, you've stumbled onto the live show, so you can fast forward to any parts of the tutorial you want afterwards, and you can leave your comments down below. What happens is we give away prizes at the end of every show for people who participate in our conversation here in the chat window. And we give away prizes to people who comment down below during the week. So that means that last week's project has prize winners. Now, last week we did this cute little flower project. It was really fun. We made our own felt applique, and we have 2 winners. You're going to win an 1/8 of an ounce, an 1/8 cut of our pre-felt, a 2 ounce of merino top, and some bling fibers to make your own little felt applique like we did. And our winners are picked by the fairies, Rhonda Berman, we just draw names, and Melody Kane, wherever you are. So gals, reach out to us on the Contact Us page to claim your prizes. And for everyone else, stick around because we're going to give away more prizes for today's project at the end of today's show. And I'm going to be looking for your comments. So let me get myself situated here and ready to felt with you. Let's look at the supplies for today's project, and hopefully I'm in close enough. Here we go. All right, so this is a quick rundown of supplies. I have my assortment of MC1 batting. You might think that this matches what the gals showed you, and what's interesting, these are all hand selected by me. So I have a couple of blues, a couple of browns, a couple of greens, a little more greens, white, black, a few grays, and then some things for the flowers in my picture, as well as this is just a little bit of Tussa silk, which I've been using this is almost like the common thread through a lot of the pictures we've done together. I've been using this. So I have this, so you'll need some wool. I have some felt sheets in white and black. We're going to needle felt our pictures onto a felt sheet, and then we can back it with a felt sheet as well. So we're going to cut circles out of them. Scissors to cut your thread. So I brought some embroidery floss, whatever embroidery thread you have, and I also brought some regular thread. In this case, I brought button thread, so you can use thread that's a little thicker if you want, like button thread might be a good option. And that's just subjective, whatever colors you like. A pencil, and I'll show you why. And then depending on how you want to finish it off, that's what these bar magnets are for, or like a refrigerator magnet. And this little felt sheet is we're gonna use this on the back as well. So I also have my Earth Harmony foam, of course, and a collection of felting needles. If you've felted with me for a little while, you know that I like to use 42 triangles, which are a fine needle for pictures. I might also use a 40, or in this case, we have just a 38 triangle. So just pick what you like to work with. And I brought along a little mason jar lid. What's fun about a mason jar lid is it's such a great little template for things, and my picture is actually the size of a mason jar lid. Now, I'm not going to put it in a mason jar lid. I'm going to make a refrigerator magnet out of it, but I use the mason jar lid as my template for the size of my felt and my back. And you can get your shape just by tracing around with a pencil and then go ahead and cut that out. So this is the shape that we already cut out just before the show, and we're going to use for our picture. Cool. Okay, and then, I didn't mention the tacky glue. The tacky glue we'll put to use later. Now, this is a picture. I'm going to zoom in pretty tight here so we can see what we're doing. This is just a made-up picture by yours truly. So I usually have the PDF ready for you to download, and today I don't have it ready just yet, so my apologies. We've had a few fun things going on here today, and I haven't quite got the PDF ready, but I will get one together. I will finish it for you. Okay. I see a few of you have just joined us. Can they be made into coasters? Daniela asks, you want them to be really flat so that when you put something, especially a glass, on top of it, that it doesn't topple and doesn't rock. You might consider mounting them under a glass disc. That could look really cool. And then you'd have a wipeable surface and it'd be really flat. So that might be an idea. And Jean says she likes the magnets. Tracy says she likes working on smaller sizes while she's learning. And Barbara says she did her first 2D picture and it turned out great. Miniature will be more challenging. So here's what I've sort of found about the miniature, or at least a way to approach it that you might consider. And that is choosing your colors, and make sure that the colors kind of are offset so each item in your landscape stands out from the rest, because it can get lost in the little details. And it's a little challenge for me to get super tiny. So what I did was I made up a fake picture and then I translated it to here. So what you'll be able to do if you want is cut out parts. And if you haven't seen what I mean by cutting out parts, check for this video, which we did, I think it was a Christmas before last. We did this, and it's on our YouTube channel, and I show you how to cut out the items in your image to get the major lines. And this is a free download, and I don't think it's a kit, but it might be a kit. This one, we have a red cabin in the snow, that is a kit. Anyway, we cut out our shapes to get to this, and this one's just a little bit bigger than this. Cool. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put in our sky. I am looking for your comments, and I just appreciate you all being here. Kathy asks, do we sell tacky glue? Yes, Kathy, we sell this tacky glue right here in this 8 fluid ounce. We have that available, so you can add that to your order if you want. Now, with your sky, I'm just going to keep this picture really simple, and this sky is a little bit darker than that sky. And what we want is the sky. People often ask me like how much wool to put down, and my guidance is make sure you have 100% coverage and you can't see the background through. And you don't want it overly thick because we're going to build on layers. But this one is a little bit darker than the one I used here. So this right here is winter blue, and then on this one I used robin's egg blue, very light blue, and you can get it in packs as small as a ½ ounce. So robin's egg blue, and this is winter blue. So just pick whichever one you like, and you can use a single 42 triangle or the 42. A lot of this is no mystery to you all. You've been felting with me before. A lot of you know how to do this, and we just share projects for inspiration and fun. Now my sky, you've already probably picked up, is already longer than it needs to be. So if you know you want to get it out of there so you don't over needle felt, too much stuff in there, go ahead and do. But the tip I want to say for this part is you want to extend over the edges so that we can wrap around all the way to the back. We're going to cover this felt 100% and wrap it around so that it has a really finished look. So just make sure you're extending just enough fiber so you'll have a little margin to go over the edge. Cool. You were all saying. Joan wants to know if these magnets are strong enough for a scarf or a wrap. Now these bar magnets are pretty darn strong. Like, look at the whites of my nails as I'm trying to get them apart. It might depend on how thick your scarf is, but they're pretty strong, and these are good for small things, I would say. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get our sky into place, and you can decide later whether you want to add a cloud. I would get the mountains into place first so that you have your scale happening. Now I went light and dark on my mountains. You can even go just light. Like if we go, these mountains are light and dark. Let's say we just start with a semi-light. This is MC1 Storm Gray. So it's got flecks and a little bit of variegation in it. If you go just light, then any trees you put in front will pop a little more. I blended Storm and a darker gray so that they were just a little darker, but you don't have to do that, of course. And now we get very unscientific, and I'm just going to drag my mountain peaks around as we go. This little horizon line is going to be it's sort of like not quite the horizon line, but it's that landscape line in the distance, and it's going to be a little straight, so you can make it straight and then just pull your peaks up out of that. Now, one challenge you might find when you're working like this is that you don't know where your little ends end. You could use this to kind of see on the outside what's sticking off. Go back to your lid and see what's sticking off, so you're not trying to form a mountain peak right there, you know, on the very edge. You can get these down in draft mode and go back and add detail later. And I'm gonna add one more peak on here. I'm actually gonna, yeah, like that. And I'm gonna add one more in here. Someone says, how could you mount it if it's under glass? It's a really good question, because you couldn't glue the glass to that. The glass would have to fix to something else on the back, so you'd almost have to have a rim under there that the glass could mount to. You'd almost have to build up a rim around it that the glass could mount to. I'm not sure. But to put a coaster right on it, it would need to be very flat. So just keep that in mind. If you want to rest a glass of liquid on this to protect your table, then you probably also want to protect your floor and not have that glass topple over. Now, we just have some pretty generic mountain peaks in there. You could add some darkness if you want right now. This right here is charcoal gray, so it's just a little bit darker. Or you could go with, like, this is coal, which is our darkest solid gray. And I think I'll take a little coal and a little charcoal and I'll mix those together. Just gonna make it, you know, things in nature are very rarely solid. But even in a little picture like this, solid can look adorable. It really can. And if you just maybe put shadow, you'll have to decide. You can decide that your light source is here, or you can leave that really vague, but you can make like half of your mountain face just a little bit darker so that it feels like you have some variegation happening in there. And again, you can come back to your mountains. We're going to be adding some trees in front and some other things, and you can come back and add that detail once you have your foreground in. I like to just now put in the grass areas, and we'll go back and add the detail after that. And thank you all for your comments. I am watching for them as we go. Oh, cute. Sue says you could make a set for each season. I really like that idea. That's an awesome idea. Here's a little idea or thought to think about on this plain grass area. One of the things that makes these miniatures so interesting is that it's sort of like in some ways a bit of hyper detail. Like in reality, if this were in real perspective, we probably wouldn't see as much detail as these little things show. And we'll add a little more to this one in a minute. But you have your foreground, your middle ground, a subject that you're focusing on. You have these mountains in the background, and then all the way back you have the atmosphere or the sky furthest away. So it's what makes these interesting is having a subject, sometimes where the placement of that is, and we'll look at that more next time, but having all these different levels. So change up your grass, and in this, or field or plain or whatever it is that you're putting down. So what I'm going to do first is put down some shire right here, and we're going to bring shire all the way back. Then I'm going to put, just to change it up, I'm going to put some olive green kind of right in the middle here. And notice the change in the colors of the grass and such the next time you look at, especially a landscape that goes back and back. And then I'm going to put some little darker greens up front. I don't want it too solid. I'm going to use, I just have a pinch of this. This is bonsai, which is like a yellowy dark green, but it's already a little variegated. So I'm going to put that right here, and I'll make a little mixture right here. Now this looks just kind of a mess, but we're going to tack everything down, and then we're going to build our image on top of this background. This becomes our little tiny canvas. And you can use your cluster tool, you can use your clover punch tool if you want, and you can just use single needles or 2 needles if that's what you like to hold. We're just filling in our canvas. Think of Bob Ross when he would do a picture with us. You know, we would fill all that in and then build up on top of it. And this gives you a place to put all of your little players. So Denise Brown says, is there a particular fiber I like to use for landscapes? When needle felting, you're going to see that very often we use our MC1 batting because it's a short, crimpy fiber, because of the amazing colors that you can get it in and blends, how easy it is to blend, and just how well it needle felts down, just lay down for you. Now, if you're tempted, I want to tell you, you can peel this up right now. You can peel this whole thing off just so you can get a look at it and start seeing where are your where's your perimeter, because you don't want to come off the picture. Where's your perimeter? Where are you going to terminate? Where does your house go? Your little sheepies go, whatever. So it's okay to peel it up at this point, and I prefer to do it like after I have that initial pass. You could even go around and blend all of these around and start to tack them down so that you can see your perimeter. So just give them a pull them around, and we're not trying to finish it, we're just trying to see what we're working with as far as our canvas goes. So this is going to make it a little bit easier to find our way. Otherwise, you find that you keep having to pick it up and check where your perimeter is. And also, if you didn't get enough fiber around the edges to have 100% coverage, then you can just add it right now. This back doesn't matter what it looks like because you can cover it. You just don't want your edges sticking out. You don't want that blue to show through the edge. Barbara says, looks like sunstruck back by the mountains with your varied greens. Lynn White says, this doesn't take much fiber and is great for your bits of fiber left over. Absolutely. So if you save back your little bits, Lynn, save back your little clusters, this takes so little fiber to make minis. And they can go pretty fast too. Okay, so here's our little canvas. It's still kind of rough and it's still kind of fuzzy. We're going to want to needle felt all of this down, but we have a lot of stuff to put on top. So I like to start with my house, or whatever's the main subject that's going in there. And what I know, or actually we're going to start back here in this tree line, but I do want to know where my house is going to be. So approximately my house is going to occupy, I'm just going to blob it here for visual sake. My house is going to be right over up here. I'm going to go ahead and put some trees behind it to give some depth of field. And I'm going to put some trees here too. Now in my picture the trees are very dark, but so are the mountains. And here these trees would show up more on these light colored mountains. But you don't have to go so dark. You could do a blend and have your trees more olive. I just kind of like that they are a little less easy to see when they get back there. Now, you don't have to do this, but if you're having a challenge, you know, shaping them out, well, you could just cut some little tree bits down so that you feel like you have some individual trees way back here and just lay them down. I know you pretty rarely see me cut my MC1 fiber, but I just want to remind you that there's no rules, and especially these little things are just mad fun because you get to make up whatever you want to have happen. These trees don't need to be very specific. I'm going to, you know, when you get way back to that background, you can't necessarily see all that detail, but there are no rules in these little landscapes, and you could make those trees like outlined and completely defined and completely visible, and that would be okay too. Whatever you want to do, basically, is what I'm trying to say, is legit. We're not trying to win any realistic art competitions here. Now these can be thinner, they can be closer together. I just want a little bit of space in between them. And we're going to put some stuff in front of them too. You could always add color on top of them as well, meaning you could get this base color down and then you could add some flecks of color right on top of those. And these I'm just going to put down right here. This is going to be behind my house is what's going to stick up. So I have kind of a green blob there. It doesn't seem to do too much, but then you can add a little bit of color right on top. Again, things get really vague in the background in reality, and you just want something there to stop the energy from flowing all the way to the mountains. Okay. Teresa Dudek says, how do you keep the wool from poking through to the front when you wrap it around the back? Teresa, that is a really great question. I'm glad you asked because I meant to tell you that. Notice when I flip this over that as I'm needle felting, this is out of habit, and one of those things I kind of forget to say is that notice that I'm needle felting like this. See the angle? Angle, angle. I'm not doing this. I'm not going into the foam. I'm just needle felting into the project. So I really am going horizontal and almost flat so that I just go back into the bulk of the wool and not out through the other side. Because if you do, like, it'll make it fuzzy, and that's what we don't want. Unless you put a color back there that you do want to poke through to this side. So that was a great question. Okay. We're still looking rough here, rough and ready, but that's okay. Let's make our house, and look, you don't even have to stress about how to make a house. This is how I make a house. It's especially one that's kind of vague like this, is I'm going to decide where is the peak of my roof line, and I'm going to put this one right about here. I'm going to give myself a little peak. This is the front part, and then I'm just going to make that angle. It's easy to make this house too big, I want to tell you. It's real easy to make it too tall to get all of your foreground and perspective in. And then just snip it off right there. And let that be, that's half of the front of our house. I think it's already bigger than the other one I had. If you struggle with the shapes, grab the download. Like I said, I will get it up later today, maybe tonight. I'll try and get it up right after the show. Grab the download and just cut the shapes out. Maybe you just want to do that for the first one. Cut the shapes out just to be like a guide for yourself. Faith Mother Goddess, Faith, asks, is it difficult to put a bunch of detail into... I don't think so. I mean, this one, I think this doesn't take much time at all. Truthfully, for me, I would be very content to spend 2 evenings on this, and for me that's 2 evenings is coming up on like 2.5 hours because I don't have a lot of time of not doing stuff, and that's when I craft. Okay, so check it out. That's our front. It doesn't look very specific. That's the front, and now we're going to make the side. Just keep the side the bottom level and just put in a big block there. We're going to give it a long roof. And so I'm just going to stick that side in right there. And wherever I decide the house terminates, see, I'll draw a little line just like that there. And then you can just fold this back over and you'll have a nice clean line on the back of your house right there by folding it in. And then we can drop our roof in. And that's pretty easy. I'll use this light. I'll just do a solid bit of this lightest color. And I'm going to start on the back of the roof line because that makes sense to me. I know that this helps me draw out my roof line, and it can just go down as far as you want. Pick a point, stab your needle, and then just drag the rest of the fibers back up. So I'm going to take this actually all the way down here. Here's my point, and then we just come back at that same angle. And again, if you have too much wool, you can either cut it off or bend it back to make the rest of your roof line. Whatever makes the most sense to you. I will just fill all of this in with wool, and then we'll add a little bit of detail too. So I'm going to bring this roof line down. You want both of your roof lines to be very specific, and then just bring this back. So Melissa says, how are you pulling such small pieces along the straight line like that? How are you pulling such small pieces? Linda, I'm not sure I understand the question, but this fiber is a short fiber. So Linda, have you used our MC1 batting? Because MC1 batting is a very short fiber and is very easy to pull off, just like little tiny bits. This is the back of my house. It's a little wonky. So you're able to pull off just tiny, MC1, you can pull off such tiny amounts that it's easy to, make little tiny bits of it. Now I just need to straighten out my roof line. I read and talk, and then I get all wonky whenever we play together here. Okay. Notice I'm using a more aggressive needle now, so if it feels like your thing is getting a little bulbous, then just pull out your more aggressive needle. And now you can clean this up. You can actually leave it a little bit rustic, and you can even plan your doors and windows later. So let's move on. We have the idea of our house in place, and something that I like to do right up here is add just a little more yellow. This is mango. You could add lemon peel or buttercup or something, but it's going to make it look like the sun is kind of striking right here where we're going to put our little sheep. And again, it's going to add some diversity in our landscape. And I like to have a little patch right here in this transition also. This is just a suggestion, and it might be things that you look for in pictures that you like. And I think it's that the colors stand out from each other in these little pieces, and also that there is variegation in what's happening within the landscape. It's not a bunch of solid colors. Jane Hall says, is that cotton white for the house? Yes, Jane, I just use cotton white. It feels like a nice little adobe color, not too, fakey bright white like our CX2 is way white, but it's also very coarse and a little bit wiry. Okay, so I am going to use my cluster of 42 triangles just to tack this all down and get it all to be a little more flat. I do prefer to leave my piece on the foam so that I'm not ripping it up and loosening those fibers, but sometimes you just need to. And we don't want this fuzzy or sloppy. We want it to be very, like this is very compact and it's not coming undone. And that is just a process of repeatedly needle felting everything down and getting it all to lay down. So you can needle felt at an angle or whatever you want to make that happen. Now, the little sheep, we have the basic ideas in here. The little sheep are part of the detail, and then we have all these flowers in the landscape. And we're going to look at how do you go from this, basic to just getting everything to just punch up a little more. And I am watching for your questions. Oh, Laura Stidham says, how do you know when to switch your needles for something this small? I just say, pick 2 needles. Go with a fine needle, the 42, because it's good for the surface design. It is good for shallow strokes, and you can go around and just needle felt everything down without punching all the way through. Feel that effectiveness when you're going through and doing these fine little details like tucking in all the fiber around the side. You'll feel that a 42 triangle, you can poke like that far and still have impact. When I want to get something to lay down more, it feels like it's sitting too much on the surface, jump to either a 40 triangle, which is a little more aggressive, or a 38 triangle, which is even a little more aggressive. And notice my pokes are like specific short strokes. I'm not doing this. I'm not trying to poke it through to the next universe. I'm just trying to poke it down into the felt, and that controls the depth of your stroke and just puts the wool where you want it and doesn't just leave these big plunging marks. So start with some finer needles. A 38 triangle is on the fine side of medium. That's how I like to say it. It's on the fine side of medium. And then this is my finest needle, is the 42. Okay, so we have our basic in place, and I'm going to do my little sheep also in cotton white. And the little sheep, actually I'm going to put something right in front of here, something non-specific. I'm going to make a bush of sorts right in front of that. I had some navy blue that I put in there, midnight. I want to add a little bit in here, right there. So I'm going to grab some more of this color, and actually let's go with like a real bright green. We'll add just a little something in front of there instead of darker. Karen says, what are you working on, felt or pre-felt? Karen, we're working on felt. You can play back to the beginning, and we're working on 100% wool felt. We cut it into a circle. I'm working on a blue circle, but we cut it into a circle. Okay, I'm going to add just a little, I'm going to put a little cluster of bushes here, just a little more something in the landscape. And all I'm doing is putting down a little blob just to get in front of the baseline of those trees. And it's not even specific. It's just a little bit of vegetation. You can't even tell what it is. And then we're going to drop in some sheep. Think odd numbers like 3, 5, 7, whatever. And I'm going to drop just a couple of sheep right in here. I'm going to put one all the way in the back here, get us in the back. And look, I'm just using a tiny bit, and he's actually going to be tinier than that. So make a dot and then just twirl it into like an oval, or, you know, not a perfect round dot, just kind of like a little oval clump. And either part can be the head or the tail, but I'll show you this little interplay between our sheep and see what you think. Okay, so here's my sheep. And I did this because we've been doing some landscapes together, and somebody said, can you do one with sheep? Like you wanted the English countryside and you wanted some with sheep, so I thought it's a great opportunity for us to go mini, and then we can do a bigger one if you feel like it. Like we could do one that's needle felted, or let's say it's a wet felted base and then we needle felt details and then we stitch on it. Of course, that would take a couple of sessions, so y'all would have to let me know if that's something that's important to you. Danielle says, that's 100% my issue, poking through to the next universe. Yeah, play with your needles, like use them like you do your kitchen knives. You know, a paring knife you don't use to cut a watermelon. So these are paring knife projects right here. Okay, so check out our little sheep. Now I dropped 3 little sheep in here, and we just put in these little black dots for their heads, but I think that none of them should be heading off of the page. I have them all heading sort of into the picture or opposing each other right here. So all I do is take a tiny bit of black, if I can find it in my, so we're just going to take a micro, tiny, you can even use thread for that if you want, but like look how this is tiny, we'll go really tiny. We don't need hardly anything for those little sheep heads. So we're going to just plop it on one end, poke it in place, and then twirl it so it's small. You don't want it to be overly specific. And I think you're going to get, this would be like our little blackface sheep, right? I think you're going to get the effect that you're looking for without having to try very hard. It's just the suggestion of detail. Drop in 3 little faces. Poke, 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 twirl and poke. Let's see. So y'all are saying yes, you would like to wet, needle felt, then embellish. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. It's going to take a couple of times to wet, needle felt, and embellish. It's going to take a couple of sessions. We will do that together. Okay, look, we got our 3 little sheep in place. That is a level of detail. Let's get our flowers in, and then we're going to go back and dial up our house and everything, all that stuff. So now for the flowers, for these flowers right here, this is what I did. I have this is boysenberry and true violet and then some berry. So I like to make it easy on myself, and what we're going to do is just take a pinch of each, and I'm going to mix them up a little bit so that I get some variegation without a whole bunch of effort. And So Maria and Sammy Bachetta say, oh, so Sammy says, can you use French knots for the flower heads? And you know what? That's what I did right here. So we're going to put in, I put in this first so that you get a little fill in the field. And so you can just play with your different needles and see what you like. But notice I'm just pinching off a little bit. And what I want is this to really stick in here. So sometimes I find the 42 is a little fine for like really grabbing and stabbing. And I'm going to use the 38 triangle. Now give yourself some little dots, and you don't want them to be overly big, but we're doing like purple flowers here and then the magenta flowers here, and they are different. And I didn't want them in the path like in front of the house, so I left that open, and I'm just grabbing and stabbing, and this is going to be an underlayment for some stitching on top. So here we go. Just get it in place. Now you could stretch out a whole bit if you want. You don't have to fuss with all these little details. You could just lay down a batch of purple if you want to. I like the green showing through a little bit, the green and the yellow. So add as many of these as you want to in here. Get out my vegetable matter. And you can leave some of the yellow. Add any colors that you want. Make them big or make them specific. Okay, now for these flowers, all I did was throw down some flecks. For these flowers, I did this. I pulled off these little bitty bits and I twisted them because I wanted these ones doing something different, and I wanted them markedly up and down and just more in the foreground. So I did this a whole bunch of times. And you can also cut them like we did with the trees, and then take your little twisted bit, your cut bit, and then twist that too and put them down. And you want them stacked all in here in the landscape. So get these guys in place and needle felt a bunch of them down, or however you want to do it. We're going to go back, not side by side like that. We're going to go back and add detail into ours. So I'm just going to get a few of these down so you get the idea that we're going up and down and not just dots. You don't have to, but it's a way to change up maybe the type of flower that you're putting in here. Now the other thing I did was I took this stuff, my Tussa silk, and I did the same thing. So I might pull off a little bit because I wanted some sheen, and it's long, so you might want to cut it into bits. Give yourself some little bits and then just needle felt those down. The Tussa silk doesn't needle felt, but you can get it to bind with the wool. So make yourself some little pieces, and you can even fold them all the way down like that, and then needle felt those in here. And just try and tuck them in. That's going to give you a little more sheen in your piece. And selectively put those wherever you want. But they do add a really fun little sheen to your piece. Oh, yes, Jennifer McPherson says, can you do a mishmash? And I think we coined a phrase, fiber mishmash, last fall, where we did an autumn tree. So you might want to Google that, mishmash, fiber mishmash. But yes, you could do a mishmash. I just wanted to show, like, if you wanted to do something very specific, what you might do. And honestly, this takes a little bit of time going in and adding all of these bits, but I did do this also with this on this picture. So you mix some of your MC1 with this, but you're going to have to cut the silk because the silk is too long and the MC1 is too short. So you're still going to have to cut it, and then you can blend your bits, pull your bits off like this and needle felt this down. So then you get a little bit of the sheen and a little bit of the MC1 to grab onto, but then you still have to, you still have to get it on the picture. So it takes a little bit of time. This is an option, or you could spread some pink down. Now we're going to go back and add some stitching just to add the detail in ours. You just want to mix it up a little bit, and I think it's nice to have some green showing and some green showing through while also having density of your little flower patch here. I'm not liking this hole, so I'll add a little piece there. Okay. And mine looks rather messy. And like we need some more little tiny bits here. So get your little bits in there so that you feel like it looks balanced and like it's not too contrived. I guess mine right now is looking pretty contrived, but we'll just keep filling in a little areas, and like some little yellow in there would be fun too, like I have on this one. Just I want to add a little bit of yellow to brighten it up right there. Okay, so we have dotted flowers and linear flowers, and this looks kind of messy. I'm just going to trim off those fuzzy bits so that I don't worry about them right now. And when you've got all these cut ends and they look like they're kind of sticking out, well then take whatever's your base fiber like that and just kind of hide them a little bit. It's going to make it feel a little more not so extreme, like they're just jumping into your picture. So just cover those very ends up with a layer or two as you need to, so it looks like they're popping out of the landscape and not sitting on top of it. That will add, that will just take away from the harshness a little bit by just covering up those cut ends that you put into place. And avoid any, real just straight lines across. Okay, so we have some suggestions of detail. We have a little sheep. We have a couple of flowers, not as many as I would like, but I want to trim up this house a little bit and show you how we start to make the landscape pop. So as I mentioned, with these little things, I think one of the things I notice is that you add sort of extra detail so that it makes things look a little more specific, and that makes it a little more interesting. So we're going to trim our roof line. You could trim it with something even darker than this. I'm using chestnut, and you could leave your roof to look kind of coloring book like mine does. It looks like a little thatched roof, but it's kind of a solid color. Or you could mute it a little bit more, and how I do that is I just take a little patch of this and I'm just gonna let it get kind of fuzzy like that, and we're just gonna drop it right over top, and then it kind of makes the roof not look so specific or just so plopped on there. Just break it up. And we want to give our domicile here a little more dimension too. You can try gray, you can try brown, whatever you want. I pulled out the charcoal for this. Why not? We'll make this little line right here very specific. And again, notice you can just point the needle in right there and then just pull it. If it's too long, trim it. And you can even go around the back of the side of the house to make it look outline it. If you outline it a little bit, it's gonna pop. That's kind of the key. And again, just take off your little bit. Now I like a blue door. I don't know why. I like a blue door in my, this is not the same blue, but I like just a little blue door. And you can be so non-specific. So again, you just take a little bunch of fiber and lay it down. We'll start to poke it where you want it, and then just guide all those fibers back in. I think with a little picture like this, you're adding the suggestion of detail, not always the most specific detail, if you know what I mean. Y'all, I'm missing your conversations. What was a question? Y'all were trying to answer a question from Norma. I missed it and it's gone by. Can you restate Norma's question? Because it says wait for an answer from Marie, and I would like to know what we're talking about. So if you use our MC1, maybe leave a little note in the comments of what you like about it, because some people have never used it and they're not really familiar with it. And it might be just a good opportunity for them to check it out if they've never checked it out before. Okay, so we have a little bit of detail on our house, And we can get a little more detail in this picture by going back and adding some strength in areas. So look, I'm going to take my charcoal here and I'm going to start to outline the base of these mountains with a little bit of a dark line. Right in there at the base of the mountain, just give it a little bit of a dark line in the horizon. And I'll even let it go back here behind the house. You could leave it light, or you could let it kind of get dark back here and make your house pop just a little bit. Just give it something of a backdrop. And then we can go in and do the same thing with the mountains. Like you can break up the mountains with some dark additions, like right on the back side. We added a little bit earlier, but you can add dimension just by, you don't have to even commit the fiber down yet. So what you can do is drop something in there and see, do you like it? Do you like what it does to your landscape when you put it in? If you just lay it on top, how do you like how it makes it look? And if you don't like it, well then take it out and reevaluate. So maybe you want that going this direction. You can look at some pictures of mountains and see what you like. And also you could just make these like super coloring book and not even worry about it. But you can just lay pieces of fiber on top like that and make a decision before you commit it. That's kind of what I want you to see. And if your fiber gets too pointed, like right there, just drag it a little bit and add some more on top so that you don't have a dot where you wanted shading. Okay, so now we have a little more detail to add, and I like to do some of that with thread, and it's just an option. Now I still think this whole thing needs to be cleaned up a little more. I'm going to go around and tuck all of these fibers under and get everything laying down nice and flat before I put thread on top. And get your picture how you want it. Like, I don't like the back of my house floating off here to nowhere. It just looks a little odd, so I'm going to make a little bush back there and close up. It's like energy is sort of floating off the picture. So I'm going to make a little bush back there. And I'm looking for a few of your questions. Okay, so I see a question about, is there a kit? Is there a kit for this? And you know what I would recommend is the bundle that Anne showed you. So we've decided to call it our Picture Fun Pack, our Felt Picture Pack, Picture Fun Pack, something with the words fun, picture, and felt in it. And it's a bundle so that you'll get the felt, you'll get the MC1 in some landscape colors. It's like the same as our Scenic Vista plus a warm tone plus a berry tone. You'll get felt, you'll get needles, you'll get the transfer pen for doing bigger pictures and like some of the more recent pictures we had. You'll get the 10x7 foam. So you're going to get everything in there for that. And then, or if you prefer to do it more a la carte, you can download the supply list, which I will share in the PDF. Give me about almost an hour after the show to get that up, or look for it tonight or tomorrow morning. Okay, so here's my little picture. Now, what I want to do is add something here in this landscape. So I have some thread with me. So for example, in the flowers, and you might see that I've already done it here. So I'm going to zoom in. Let me get just a little closer for you to see. So here, all of these dark magenta lines are embroidery floss. And I only used about, I want to say 3 strands of my embroidery floss. Now you might not like to make a knot, but I knot mine just to make it easy on myself. And all I did was go up around all of these flowers. Just straight up, so the fiber that you put down is wider in some cases than the thread will be. You can use shiny threads, you can use thinner threads, you can use anything you want. This is really It's going to add texture and interest, but you don't have to fuss about getting it wrong. You're not going to get this wrong. The only thing that would make this wrong is if you didn't have fun, because felting is supposed to be fun. So go here. You can even put one where you don't have any pink down below. That's okay. You can add light pink threads as well as the dark pink threads. So get some stitches in here as much as you want, and mostly enjoy the process. Cool. I am reading your comments. Thank you all so much for your comments. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us on Wednesdays. We so appreciate it. It's like we get to connect with you. Okay, so we're going to do that. Continue that in your little flower field here. And then let me show you. I'm going to jump to this one, if you'll allow me, since I tried to make them largely similar, but I'll just jump over to this one for a moment. Here I'm working on some little French knots. We've shown you that a few times. I am like super unskilled in the stitching world, so for me, I just do like what's super simple. And I am trying to learn some new stuff, so maybe before the end of the year I'll have some new things to share with you. But so someone had asked about French knot. So for a French knot, just come up to the base, and these I'm keeping very small with just the traditional 2. You're going to hold onto your thread, turn your picture if you want, hold onto your thread and put your needle like to point where the direction the thread's pulling out. Go underneath your thread, wrap once, wrap twice, and then just go back down where you came up. So notice this hand's holding the thread taut, this one's going back in, and hey, you can poke into your foam just to get your grip, and then just lift it up. You're going to hold that knot in place and pull it, and you'll have these little French knots. And you can just dot your little landscape here with them. And again, mix up the threads. You don't have to use the same colors as you put down. I liked that I chose a lighter thread on top for my French knots than the others down below. And some people are just masters at this. Aesthetically, I'm not the greatest at stitching, but I think it just all comes with learning. And I've had fun starting to add it into my pieces. Kathy says, so true, this art is enjoyable because it's so personal. Nothing is wrong if we like what we have done. Yeah, and I think it's fun as long as you like the process. Like, if you like the process, cool. Okay, so check it out. We've added some stitching here and some stitching here, but I've also added some stitching here, and I will jump over to this one again. I have some threads loaded. I thought I had green loaded. I didn't. I will do that. So I added some greens in the landscape also, because why not? Like, if you like how the landscape looks, well, then you can add a little interest just by, I don't know if y'all do this. This is how I thread my needle. Just pinch the thread against it and make it flat, and then shove it into the eye and then pull through. You can add a little thread in there just to break it up and add some lines into your landscape. Okay, so again, little, and whatever you want. I just did some horizontal stitching in mine, and I kind of synced them up. So I think I used more thread on the first one, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. Just add little bits. They don't have to follow any rules. You can add as much or as little as you like. And you know, the fun thing about thread is you can always take it out. It's really easy to take out if you don't like it. I knew I was going to lose that. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit there, and then I did the same thing in the mountains. So in the mountains, I added, I actually used a blue thread. This is like a navy blue button thread, and I just ran stitches up and down these sides of the mountains to kind of trim it out, and in between the trees. So play with that and do what speaks to you. And why don't we look at how do we wrap up this project, since I know I'm already over time. So I'm going to set this one aside so that I can enjoy it a little more tonight and have fun playing with it. And I'm going to, let's finish this one off to be a magnet. And I'm going to use this one in my kitchen, I think. I love refrigerator magnets, at least a couple that kind of brighten my day. So here's this little guy, and we cut out this black felt to be the back. I want it to be a refrigerator magnet, but I still want to back it. Now you might like yours. You might like how that pops, seeing the black behind the picture. That is kind of striking, but I want mine to be a little bit hidden. So I just want this backing to clean up my piece, and you can always glue it on and trim it after, or just trim it up a little bit. So I'm going to trim mine just for a moment to get it to match my shape and see what some of you are saying. You guys plan, Michelle says, I keep saying we're overtime and that you guys plan for an hour and a half. Yeah, we used to have 1 hour Woolly Wednesdays before this pandemic thing, and I started stretching it out. So nice to know you're planning for an hour and a half. I guess I should too. Okay, so now I have trimmed that up a little bit. The magnets I'm going to use, the fairies brought me, here they are. These are really strong. These are really strong magnets right here. Like they're hard to get apart. You might want to glue gun them or something. I just use one for a refrigerator magnet because my magnets usually don't hold anything. They're just there for me to look at. So I'm going to glue two things, this to this and this to this. And I know the circle doesn't look perfect, but on the back you won't even notice. Yes, I'm just using Aleene's tacky glue. And in this case, I'm going to put it right on the felt. Like I said, you might use a glue gun. You could stitch this on. You don't have to glue it on. You could hand stitch it on, but you would have to stitch, so as not to outline your picture. You would have to stitch it so that it only went through the back. Now this is thick enough that it's not going to go through to the other side, like not at all. And I hope I got that straight. There we go. You can always trim it up more if it's not perfect. That's going to add a little density to it also. And then I'm just going to glue I could have got that a little more straight, but welcome to my world, not straight. Marie's world is not straight. And I will see how this tacky glue holds up to this magnet. I'm pretty sure I've used them before, but I do have other glues at home. And I'm going to drop that right on there for my brand new refrigerator magnet right there. That's what we made today. Oh, it doesn't look good on the green. That's what we made today right there. I'll zoom in one more time so y'all can see it a little more close. Most of the time you're going to view these things from far away, but have fun. Like I said, this is just a little made up scene. I can't wait to see the scenes that you guys make up, because there's no question that every time I make something and share it with you, you wow me with everything that you make, which is just a spin-off from the project, or you take it to some other level that nobody else could have but you, and that's really the magic of this. So I want to see what y'all are saying. Thank you so much. Carrie says she likes the blanket stitch on her backing felt. Yes, that would look very nice, and you could still do the blanket stitch without it going all the way through. Jennifer McMullen says, if this were a brooch, would you glue in the larger magnet under the felt backing? I would use, if I were doing a brooch, I would use this magnet, and you're going to want, I wouldn't do it under the back, probably not, because you want this to be able to reach through your clothing. So what you can do, you could put this onto the back of this, and then this piece would be separate. So if you're doing a brooch, but what you could do is you could stitch through this, or you could cut a slit in your felt so that these pieces stick out and this part is underneath. So you could just cut little slits and slide this under, but still even glue it in place so that this part is the standalone on your clothing and the bulk is on the pin. Or you could go vice versa. You could put this on the back and have the bulk on your clothing. But I will tell you, I'm messing up my magnet here with this magnet bar. I will tell you that these little magnets, at least I had one the other day that moved around. Maybe these don't. Anyway, so if I were doing a brooch, I would use the bar pin magnet, and we do have those on the site now. Lauren shared those this morning. Okay. Angela Kuchar says, I don't know if you answered this yet, but do you ever do this directly onto a felted purse? Absolutely. This is great. You could do this for surface design onto something that's already felted. You absolutely could, Angela. That would be awesome. And Devin is answering Kevin. And what was Kevin's question? I want to see it, Kevin. So if I didn't answer your question and I don't get to it right now, leave it down below. If you feel like it's a question you want me to answer, leave it down below. But Kevin, if you're listening to me right now, if you can repost, I will try and answer it. Robin, nice to see you today too, darling. Linda Price says, what is the bar pin magnet called? Search bar on our website, because we call it, I think, the magnetic bar pin or the bar pin magnet. I think we call it, yeah, one of those. Go ahead. Yeah, so no, Kevin Nobles is asking about the Dragon class. The Dragon class in-house has been canceled. That is going to be online, y'all. We're still working on the online school. It is so coming along. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but the Dragon class will be online. Okay, y'all, so this is what we made today. If you're brand new to us, this is where we hang out all week, is in our group, Living Felt Friends. Join us there. You need some history on Facebook. You need a head. You cannot be anonymous. We don't allow any spammers. So you're going to need some history in Facebook to join the group, and you have to answer a few questions. You can also tag us on Instagram, Living Felt, if you make this and share the project. Share the link to the video, y'all. If you had fun, we so hope that you'll share a link to today's video, turn a friend or a family member onto it, hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time we go live and upload a new video. If you hit that bell, you'll get the notification. So the bell will have two little lines on the outside to let you know that it's active, and that is a notifications bell. Everything that we shared with you is available in our shop. Lots of our friends who are on here shop with us. You don't have to. You can play with us no matter where you are. I know some of you are wanting us to ship to the UK right now. We're not shipping internationally because we have refunded so many orders because they're late. Not because they didn't arrive, but because they're weeks and weeks late. And it feels like, even for us, things that we're getting from across the pond are taking a long time to get here, sometimes many weeks longer than we expect. We're keeping our eye on it for those of you who are overseas, and we will ship. We're shipping to Canada right now, but we will ship internationally again. We're just not doing it right now. So thank you all so much for this. Thank you for spending time with us today. And I have a couple of names to draw prizes from for today's show. So the fairies have been taking names to everyone participating in the conversation. And today we are giving away, I'm going to pull out my two names so I don't look. I get them both. Okay, I've got two names. They're sealed. See, I don't know who they are. Today, you can choose either an MC1 Gooding Pack, which is the fiber that I've been working with today, and we have three. We have a regular, a winter, and a fall goodie. You can choose those, or you can choose, we'll send you a 10x7 foam and 2 packs of felting needles. So if you want to do today's, I recommend the 42 triangle and the 38, at least a triangle. And our winners today are Linda Repkin. We know you. Congratulations, Linda. And Karen Martin. Congratulations, gals. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating today. Please take good care of yourselves. Remember, art is a process, so enjoy the process. Above all, I hope you just have fun. And if you make your sweet little English countryside scene, I hope that you'll share it in our group, Living Felt Friends. We'll see you there, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye, y'all.